Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you all. We have
Hello.
we have the Morgan Griffiths here with us on our Black Love feature tonight. And what I want to do, let me check the tribe to make sure that we're live there so everyone can see us. If you all can see us, please say hello to us. Okay, I see that we are on. Well, I hope you all have had a wonderful day today. And as you know, this month we've been talking about Black love. And I tell you, it's been amazing. Hey, you're so funny, Rodney. Is that you?
No, that's not me.
Oh, that must be your child. Okay. I see. It just threw me off when I saw Rodney Morgan pop up on the comments. I was like, hold up, that's you. But anyway, we have had such a great month so far. We've had Eric that has started the month out talking about what is Black love. And if you all did not catch that, please catch it. I mean, he really showed us some beautiful Black art and helped us to kind of interpret what that meant to us and how it really illustrated Black love. It was wonderful. And then we had Trevay that came last week with the Q&A, and I tell you, she just took it on another level in regards to what Black love is to us and what it is in our community and how we actually demonstrate it. And we got Trevay back to this week at this event, but she's added her other half with us, or her other whole with us today, and they do have a little lag, so they respond a little late to us. Um, but what I want to do, I want you all to please just introduce yourselves. I know I can introduce you, but I want you to introduce yourselves and just let us know a little bit about you, and then we'll jump on in.
Okay. We'll let the Griffiths go first.
I'm gonna go first.
Y'all gonna let us go first, and I'm trying to log in on my phone.
Okay, look, I'm gonna remove you and add you on the other one. How about that?
Okay, so enter.
That works.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so you'll probably just have to take the speaker off. Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Awesome. Yay, so you can hear us now.
We got you on time now.
Yay.
We in
All
now.
right. Did you hear the last
So
thing I said about introducing yourselves?
yes, and he put us on the spot to be the first ones, knowing we had a lag, but it's okay.
I'm trying to give y'all a head start.
Oh no, he got jokes, so he gonna give us a head.
I know. Yeah.
That's all right. Go ahead, Tell
Well,
who we are.
I'm Javaris Griffith. Everybody call me Jay because people mess up my name so much. So everybody just call me Jay. And we've been married for almost 8 years. And well, we we tell people we say I'm Jay and she's Vay. So that's kind of how we people are like, oh, Jay and Vay, that was Jay and Vay. So that's kind of how we make it simple for everybody. But I'm Javaris and she's Trevay and we're the Griffiths and we have 6 kids. We have 4 here at the house and 2 in Florida. And we're happy to be here and hopefully we'll be able to say something that will help you in your marriages because we've seen a lot, we've been through a lot, and we are believers, so what we say will be connected to word. So that's basically our that's our foundation. Marriage between a man and a woman. I mean, that's how we roll, and that's what our beliefs are, and that's what our conversation will be based on. That's it.
Also adding that we are a multi-generational household because my mother lives with us, so that comes with some other complexities. Good things, but just added information. I think he said everything else.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, we're Rodney and Sherry Morgan. Y'all can call me Rodney. That's what everybody call me, Rodney. And Sherry. A lot of people call me Cool, but those are the people that really been knowing me for a long, long time. We've been married 25 years. We have five really adult kids now. We're pretty much empty nesters. Um, we're a blended family. Sherry had two kids, and I had two kids when we met, and then we had one together to give us the fabulous five. And we strictly live by the word too when it comes to family values and understanding one another and trying to build together in a marriage. You know, we got a lot of experience, a lot of things we can share and bring to the table. 25 years of good and trying and tribulations and all that good stuff.
Right.
Awesome. Well, we here for
Yes.
it. Well, thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for the introduction. When I was thinking about tonight, sometimes I could just be so excited about, our events. And I was thinking, I've really been anxious about this one coming up. And I wanted to really, because I've been thinking, okay, what is the meaning of Black love? I've been thinking about that all month. And I found this really good meaning that I thought that was so good. It said the meaning of Black love, it means recognizing that divorce isn't necessarily a sign of universal failure and marriages may not be a success. Black love means allowing for balance and yielding space while allowing a person to grow and change and figure out ways to navigate the world separately and with a partner. So when I read that, I was like, wow, this is really a great definition when I think about you two couples, because the fact that I've seen, of course I've known Rodney and Sherry longer because y'all been married longer, but looking at people from a distance, there's a lot that you can see, without actually talking to them on a regular basis. But you see the consistency of people's relationships, and that is the reason why I asked these couples to be here, you all, because I know that nothing is perfect, no marriage is perfect, but it's how you maneuver and how you adjust to the challenges and how you grow from those things. So if you all have any questions, put them in the chat. But I will start off with a few questions for our couples, and feel free to comment um, and just chime in on the discussion as well. So if y'all are ready, we'll start. How about that?
We're
Sounds
ready.
good.
We're ready.
Should I flip a coin to see who question to go first?
Oh, I'm a generous guy. We can just,
Clearly.
Well, since I did talk about, how marriages aren't perfect, and we have people from all different backgrounds that are watching us right now. We have, couples who might have just got married, who haven't been married that long, people who are divorced, people who are single that have never been married, or I mean, we have everybody, all kinds of different age groups, people who might have lost a spouse due to a passing. But we know that there are conflicts and disagreements that occur in relationships as a whole. So I wanted to ask Trevay and Jay, how have you been able to, handle those disagreements and conflicts throughout your marriage, especially considering, you all did have Sheree, you did have a child before you got married, and just adjusting to everything.
So there are a few things that are instrumental in us dealing and handling our disagreements and our conflicts. Number one is always prayer. That's our go-to. As Jay said, that we are believers. So the first thing we do is go to God about our disagreements. And then there's confrontation. But when I say confrontation, I don't mean confrontation of each other. I mean confrontation of the problem. And as well as accountability and respect. So when we talk about confrontation of the problem, we want to confront whatever it is that's causing us to disagree, whatever the root cause is, whatever it is that we need to work out so that this doesn't become a recurring problem. We confront that. And then the accountability is holding ourselves to whatever we agreed to do. So once we communicate with each other and we talk about what was the root issue, and not placing blame, but figuring out what we can do to make our union flow smoothly. Once we do that, then we figure out, okay, what's your role? What's my role? Okay. And then we hold each other accountable and hold ourselves accountable to what we've determined that we'll do. And then lastly, we just respect each other. I love him, he loves me, and we understand that if he loses, I lose. If I lose, he loses. So, but if we win together, then both of us can benefit from that. So we respect each other enough that we show that even when we're disagreeing with each other, whether that's publicly, privately, whatever the case may be, we respect each other. Jacob.
And we love each other, but we also like each other. So that that matters a
That makes
lot
a
when you're
difference.
dealing with differences. And I mean, when you're just dealing with life, I mean, it's a lot easier when you really like the person that you're with, because everybody can't say that right now. I mean, we pretty cool. We don't have a lot of fights and confrontations because I really think that we're so reasonable. I mean, we know that we're not perfect. She knows I'm not perfect. I know she's not perfect. So when she say we come together and we kind of talk about it, I mean, we can just about talk our way through anything, because I mean, we both know that our heart's in the right place. That's for number one. And we understand that we are one and we're on the same team. Like she said, if I lose, you lose. We really, really understand that. So we don't really have room to just let stuff just lay. Because one of my things is I out of sight is out of mind a lot of times. So we kind of balance each other out. So she don't let me just leave stuff alone, not long at all. So, and I think it's just the communication part, and we're very reasonable and we're down to earth, even with each other,
That's good.
so I think that's how I feel.
You said something reasonable. I mean, what does reasonable mean?
Reasonable means almost like, okay, I did this because of that. It's like, okay, I don't agree, I wouldn't have done it like that, but I see why you did. It's like,
Okay.
it's reasonable. It's like, okay, I understand that, because we're two imperfect people trying to make something work. So,
Mhm.
I got my own issues, she got her own issues. I grew up this way, she grew up that way. I mean, we really understand that we have to work together. And it's almost like in the Bible where it said, let us reason together. It's like, okay, let's come up with something. We got
Mhm.
to come up with a solution to the problem, because if we don't deal with it, it's still there, and the molehill will turn into a mountain if we just leave it there.
And then
Mhm.
to add to that reasonable component, we're also teachable. If there's something that I don't know, then I'm willing to learn that what he knows. And even if I know a little bit about it, if he knows more about it, then I'm willing to hear that out. And even if neither one of us feels like we know more, but it's just different, then we're willing to see each other's perspectives.
Mm.
So we're teachable and we're reasonable. Now that's not to say that we don't have disagreements. We just know how to respect each other as we work through those disagreements. Because we've had some heavy hitters, just like anybody else. It doesn't take long for the devil to attack your marriage, but we've been able to work through it through that ability to be reasonable and teachable.
Yeah, it sounds like y'all grown. I remember Pastor Mike used to say marriage is for grown folks.
That's right.
Yeah.
uh, Sherry, Rodney, do y'all have anything to add to what the Griffiths were saying about conflict and disagreements?
I totally agree. Um, I totally agree with what both said, and we're pretty much the same way, like they are. But they sound way seasoned than 8 years.
Good thing. That's
Seasoned,
a good thing.
yes.
One thing I like to add is to agree to disagree and to give up your right to be right. To give up your
Mm,
right to be right is something a lot of people struggle with because you always got to be right. No one is always right in a marriage or a relationship. So when you can humble yourself and give up your right to be right, that kind of give the other person the power, and when I say the power, not the power to like just say they rule everything, but in cases with me, the Bible talks about the woman being a weaker vessel. I understand that I'm a strong guy. I understand that I'm a man. I understand that my position in the home is the head, but that don't mean I have to make the last decision. So sometimes we have a disagreement. I might even know the full answer and she might not have came around to understand it yet. But for peace sake, I give up my right to be right and allow her to have that stage and to do what needs to be done. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to throw it back up in her face. If it's not right, I'm not going to throw it back up
mhm.
in her face. I just say, hey, don't worry about it. We got this. Let's move on. Let's do it this way. And that settles it. So that's the only thing I wanted to add. Everything else they said was beautiful.
And can I add to something that he said? It made me think about something that I say sometimes when you have an argument or have a disagreement or whatever. If you choose to forgive that person, you forfeit the right to hold it over their head.
That part.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I like that.
Mm,
Yes.
that's good. I
Mhm.
tell you, I hope y'all taking notes. At one point in time, I was like, I feel like I need to be writing down some stuff. I need to go back and look at this on replay.
Right.
Well, I know with disagreements and conflict, it takes, just like Jay said, being reasonable. Us being mature. So, Rodney and Sherry, how has communication played a role in your marriage?
It wasn't easy at first. So communication is a learned behavior. It's something that you have to learn to do. And over time you get it. And for some it's easier than others. So the learned behavior part of communication is learning to listen, um, before you speak. Let them finish what they're saying completely before you respond to it. Because a lot of times, if you interrupt the process of when that person is speaking because you can't hold out what you need to say or you think you may forget it, sometimes you may not need to say it, but listen to that person totally till they finish the entire sentence or the entire conversation, and then you can rebuttal, then you can say something, um, and it may change the whole dynamic of what you were talking about, because now you understand, okay, this where this person was coming from. Had I listened for the entire message of what that person was saying, I probably wouldn't have jumped to a conclusion. So for us, communication is number one for us. It's number one. We have to communicate all the way to, babe, what you eating? What we eating tonight?
That's real right there, though.
Okay,
Yes.
if not, somebody gonna be buying food. Both parties gonna be buying food, bringing it home, assuming that the other one wanted this to eat. But so you
Mhm.
have to communicate. Or the person could have been cooking and you brought home food too. So communication is very important so that you won't double do a lot of stuff. And it happens.
And communication is key um to any successful venture, whether it be marriage, whether it be business, whether it be school, whether it be anything for anyone, a relationship, a single person having. Communication is key. And in communication, you have to have integrity and you have to be honest to a fault. Because sometimes you'd be afraid to hurt the other person feeling. So
Mhm.
you don't communicate everything that needs to be communicated. We went through this in the beginning of our marriage, not really communicating everything because you might be like, well, if I say this and she take it wrong, we might just go on and split. But
Mhm.
you got to give the other person the opportunity to respond, even if the communication hurts, even if it's truthful to the point that it might be painful to say it, but I have to say it because that other person only deserves the right to respond to it. If you
Mhm.
don't communicate to that other person the problem or a situation, then you handicapping the relationship. You
Mhm.
handicapping the marriage because I might be thinking I'm doing everything right and I might
Mhm.
be doing some things wrong only because she never said anything. So I'm gonna continue to do what I'm doing.
Right.
But the moment she addresses it and how she addresses it, you can't always just gotta come in and be, like strong at it. You have to be sensitive when you're talking to people, especially when you're finna say something that might hurt them. So I think integrity and honesty in communicating is very key, when you're communicating with someone, especially if you're in a private circle of someone that you're supposed to love. You should be able to talk about different things, different issues, different situations. So I just think communication is key with honesty. Without honesty and integrity, communication is no good, it's flawed.
Yeah. And I think we as single people, we get it wrong in the dating process by not being honest,
Yes.
in the beginning. And then here you are, you've become this person that you think this other person wants you to be, because you have not been completely honest. And then you're in a marriage with this person, and then you're in what, maybe 5 years later, like, hold up, I'm tired of being this person.
Right, right.
Or you might said you like strawberries and you really didn't like strawberries. So that person been giving you chocolate covered strawberries every Valentine's Day or something.
Right, right.
But I mean, that might be small, but that definitely is, just like Cher was saying, a learned behavior.
Yes.
And someone mentioned in Facebook, I guess they want Cher, I guess they want you to elaborate. It said, I'm not sure what they're trying to say, Share, about communication being a learned behavior. I'm not sure what they were trying to say, but I think they wanted you to elaborate on that.
Okay, so I think it's a learned behavior because everybody does not communicate. They don't communicate. Or in maybe different instances where people should communicate, they don't communicate. And then once the couples get together, then they have to learn each other's style of communication. It could be verbal, it could be physical, it could be anything, but everybody, I think communication is different for everyone.
Mhm.
Some people be like, I don't need all that.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And
Oh,
with
they were
that,
saying, I'm sorry, they were saying I like what they like what you said about it. It being
Okay, good.
uh
Okay,
but that was really good attention. That was really good though.
okay, thank you.
What you
oh,
were
and
saying?
that was awesome. What you just said about it being a learned behavior, because a lot of times, um I guess part of being teachable, you even you have to even learn how to communicate with the person you with, because that does, just because you a good talker, man, I can talk. I mean, I used to be real quiet when I was younger, but when I really hooked up with God, that's when I really started talking, because I wouldn't clap in church. I wouldn't say amen. You would think I wasn't even in the building. But after I started saying amen and stuff, I started talking to people. So just because you're able to communicate with people doesn't mean you communicate well with your spouse. And
Mm,
the main thing is, with me, I learned some just a few years ago. I'm 45 now, but Treve taught me something just a few years ago, and it seemed like it would be common sense, but it was not that common with
yeah.
me, because
Common sense ain't always common.
man, she told me, she said, babe, because I'll talk fast sometimes, and I expect the people that I'm talking to talk fast as well. So when I ask you something, if you just sitting there looking, I'm like, well, babe, like if I say, babe, you want to go grab something to eat? You want to go out tonight? She's like, well, by the time she get ready to say it, I'm like, well, we don't have to go. It's like, no, just wait a second. You know what I'm saying? It's like she's still processing, and I'm expecting her to process at the same speed that I do. She's actually running everything back through her mind before she gives me an answer, because she wants to answer the right way. And so just because people are not, they're not, I guess, processing at the same speed you are, we have to be sensitive to that, because it took me 43 years, and I'm 45 now, to figure that out, and I didn't figure it out till I got with my wife.
Wow.
And look at this. This is around year 6 almost when I figured that out. So
Wow.
look how I've been communicating all this time. I'm thinking you don't want to do this, or you're ignoring me. No, you just start talking before I could get my thoughts going. So we have to realize who we're dealing with and how they process, because it could be totally different than the way that you do.
Yeah, you
Wow.
said something, and it made me think back on when Rodney and I first got married, maybe the first 5 years, and I was working with a lady at one of my jobs, and I had the opportunity to learn Myers Briggs, that personality profile testing. Y'all heard of that, right?
Mhm,
Mhm.
Yeah.
mhm.
And she worked at UAB, and she had to give that to all the employees that worked, so she can know how to um, put them with people. So when
Mhm.
she told, I was like, was venting to her about how long it takes my spouse to respond, and she helped me learn that exactly what you said through those personality profiles, that it takes people that takes longer to respond. They are processing what you said, and I be ready to go on to the next thing, and I'm thinking like you, that he's ignoring me, but actually by the time I go on to the next question, he responding to the to the first question. And one time I started counting how long it take, and I was like, it took you 32 seconds to respond. He said, you counting? Yes.
Yes.
So I learned that. So it doesn't. It, I think it bothered me because I didn't know, but
Yeah.
once I learned, I was like, it doesn't bother me. I
Mhm.
wait.
And honestly, I think God puts people that complement each other together. I caused him to slow down and think a little bit, and he caused me to be a little bit more spontaneous with my decision making, because I'll run it through all kind of filters. Is it gonna help somebody? Is it gonna hurt somebody? I mean, I run it through so many filters. That's what makes it the process take so long, because I'm like, I'm checking for everybody and everything, you know. And so, but also
Checking all
communication
the
requires uh, communication, and I said this in my last discussion, that it requires comprehension. The person that you're speaking to needs to understand the message that you're trying to give them, the intent behind what you're trying to say. Is, you know, because like I said in my last discussion, he and I have two totally different vocabularies in some cases. And what something means to him means something totally different to me. And that can change the message that he's trying to give me and the way that I receive it. So we have to comprehend, we have to know what that other person's language is. I know what I mean when I say this, but I have to know what he means when he says it, so that so it doesn't cause any rifts or any, issues with what we're trying to say, and we don't get frustrated with each other. He been talking like he talking his whole life, and I've been talking like I'm talking my whole life. So it's not necessarily going to change so much. It's just the fact that we have to understand each other and the language that we're speaking. We both speak in English, but we speak in two different
right.
sites.
For
You
example,
know what?
if I
Go ahead.
for example, if I say, babe, do you want to go to the movies tonight? And she'll be like, well, it don't matter. To me, it don't matter. I mean, like, there's other things we could do. And she's like, no, when I say it don't matter, it's like, yes, I would love to go. So it's totally different with me. It doesn't matter means you don't really want to, but you don't really not want to. So and if she say, well, whatever, it's like, whatever to me means like, whatever. It's like dismissive, like whatever you want to do is like, I don't really care for that, but okay. But that's totally different for her. And I think we have to, through communication, that's where we learn each other, and we have to be okay with it being different, because that's one of those things where we have to agree to disagree. She sees this word this way and I see it that way, but it may never change. You got to know my heart. I got to know your heart and the intention behind what you're saying, because I can't judge what you say by what everybody else say, because it could be two totally different things.
For example, when he said whatever, like if I say whatever, normally I say whatever you want to do. And that's because I'm happy whenever I'm with him. We could go to a tent. We could go literally anywhere, and I'm happy because I'm with him. And so that's what I mean when I say whatever. But he just told you how he interpreted whatever. But because we've discussed this, he now understands what my whatever means.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
For him. Now that don't apply to everybody now.
Right.
And that is so good. And I think, because I was going to ask you all, how do you work through differences? And so you pretty much answered that question already, because I was going to ask about even the parenting styles and personalities and routines. Because, when it's early in marriage and you have kids, you do, have to work through some differences, especially as it relates to parenting. So
yeah,
do you all want to talk on that just a little bit?
Just a little. So what I would say about working through differences is really two things: preparation and appreciation. Prepare for there to be differences, because you already know you're two different people. You came from two different households. And it's like, even if I was to bring my sister on here, my sister and I have the same parents. We came from the same household, but we think differently. We operate differently. And it's the same way with him. Just imagine, him coming from a different household. So the preparation comes from knowing that there are going to be differences. And then the appreciation comes from, like I said before, that complementary nature of it. I understand that him rushing me actually kind of helps me it kind of shows me how to operate in a faster system, how to go through my process just a little bit more streamlined. You know what I'm saying? Like, I appreciate the things that he brings to the table that helps to sharpen me, and vice versa, the things that I bring to him that helps to sharpen him. And then expectations greatly influence your experience. Whatever my expectation of my husband is or was before we got married kind of determined my experience until we talked about it, until we discussed it. And then you have to make sure that whatever you're asking of your spouse is realistic, is fair, is open, that you express what your expectations are. Because you can have a standard, but you also have to have patience and understanding.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's good. Rodney, Sherry, did y'all have anything to add to that question in regards to differences?
No, that was good. That was complete. Honestly,
Okay, that was,
complete.
I like that. I like that. That was complete.
Complete.
Well, I have a question for you all that's kind of like it kind of segues into that with I know you all said you had two children apiece, before you came together. So tell us how you were able to blend your families together. How was that process?
You want to take the beginning of that? You want me to take?
You can go.
Okay. So Sherry had two kids. I had two kids. Sherry kids were 7 and 2. Mine's were 4 and 3. Yeah, when we met,
6 and 2,
6 and 2,
and 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Mine's was 3 and 4. Hers was 6 and 2. So the way we were able to blend the family together, first the kids were so young that they just wanted to always be around one another. So
They love playing.
They love playing. So that was a given. You put kids in the sandbox, they're gonna play until the parents or the adults bring in separation. Well, what we did was we didn't use the step mom, stepson, stepdaughter. No, our kids were our kids. I even told them when they came of age, we don't use the step word around here. You're not my stepdaughter. You're not my stepson. My kid's not her stepdaughter, stepson. You're our kids. We're a family. And I believe once you remove the separatism of a family out the house, it allows everybody to grow. Now our kids, you can tell them they're not brothers and sisters if you wanted to. They have brother and sister nights. We can't even come. We be wanting to go over there and stick our head in the mix. Come. But because we remove, so many people get married with blended families, and the wife might be like, well, you're not going to discipline my child, or the father of his child might be like, well, I don't like the way you treated my child. Whatever gifts and talents we both have for those kids, it's for all of them. It's not to be separated. It's not to be looked upon as one is greater than the other. They're all our children. When we go out to eat dinner, it ain't nobody trying to sit there and explain, well, this is her too right here. No. We're a family. This the Morgan family. Either take it or leave it, but this is what it is. Even with our own parents, with our own families, that from both sides of our family. My mom, she was so, I'm crazy. I was about Miss Patricia, but my mom, a lot of people didn't get to meet because she didn't go to Faith Chapel. But when Justin was a little boy and he used to come over to my mom's house, let me tell you, that was grandma. That's how we rolled in the Morgan side. So she would want to feed him and all these different things. And she would be like, no, Miss Morgan. Mama said, shut it up.
Let me tell you, wait a minute. You know how you give your kids the little pep talk before you go inside people's houses?
Right.
Don't touch nothing. Don't do anything. You go in here and sit down. Don't you ask them for anything. Food.
Right.
If you need some water, you'll be all right.
Right.
We get in Rodney's house to meet his mom. We probably already knew her, but I was giving him that pep talk. We go right in there, and I see my son coming down with, I think it was like a popsicle or something. And I was like, you get that from? Before I can get that out my mouth good, his mother came around the corner and said, I told him he can have it.
That's right.
He can have. I gave it to him. He didn't ask me for it. They can have anything they want in this house. You know, she just went overboard about what all the stuff that she buys and when she buys is for the kids. So I had to zip it. I was like,
yep.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
I was thinking my pep talk did not work.
So, extended family helps blended families. People don't, when you marry someone, you think you're marrying that person, but you're really marrying the family. Don't ever think you're going to get married to this one person when you're marrying the whole family. So it's very good when you're single to investigate the person you're dating family. I'm being serious. You need to investigate, because if you see something that's not right with that side of the family, just think of it like this. When y'all don't have anybody to go to and you're supposed to be able to go to family, you need to think, can I really go to that person?
Right.
Family is what family is supposed to be. Family is supposed to come together, protect, love, and cover. That's how I came up. So you have to date someone, and you have to know their family, and you have to like their family. Don't marry someone if you don't like their family. I'm sorry. That's for me. It might not be for everybody else that's listening, but I feel like it's very important, because our two families, you can tell who were the in-laws and who's not in-laws. Even with her brothers and my brothers and sisters, we don't use the brother-in-law. You never heard me tell Dave, hey, brother-in-law, come here. Never. That's my brother. My brothers and sisters are her sisters and brothers. They don't use in-law terms. We don't use that. Any word that separates the family, we don't use. And if you want to be that person, we're going to you're going to be an outcast. We don't like separatism, or favoritism. I don't do either one when it comes to children and when it comes to family.
Yeah, because you see family as being one,
That's
and
it.
Not being a clique here and a clique there, and my family over here, your family over there.
And let me say this too, if there's some men listening. When I was dating Sherry, I don't know if I did it after we got married or before, but her ex-husband, him and I had a great relationship.
That's good.
I respected him. He respected me. Our relationship, I never went at him sideways. I never talked about him around his kids. I never did that. I just dealt with him. I respected him. He respected me. I actually introduced myself to him. I wanted him to know who I was. And I wanted him to know the kind of father that I was going to be. So I think men, we have to drop this macho attitude that we always got to have this exterior of I'm tough. I'm not the one to mess with. When you're marrying someone that has kids, he is someone you're going to have to mess with. So it's better to have a great relationship with that person than to have a negative relationship with that person. Vice versa for the women. You're just going to have to communicate, because there are extensions to this marriage. Whether you want them or not, there are extensions. So either you deal with them the right way, or you're going to deal with them later. Okay, you're going to have to deal with them.
Right. They ain't going nowhere, especially if they want to be involved with their kids.
Right. And it doesn't make you a weak person because you respected someone first. It doesn't make. The way I was raised, I'm going to always give my right hand to you. Now, when you bite that hand, I know not to put that hand back out there. But I'll be the first one to put that hand out there. I'm always that way. But him and I, we had one of the best relationships. He would call me. I would go to churches and minister. Guess who would be there supporting me to minister? He'd be sitting right there in the back. Wow. One of my biggest cheerleaders, So I tell men, when you marry a woman or someone with kids, try to get to know the father, because he's going to be even if he's not a part of those kids' life, you still need to get to know this joker. You know, you know who you're dealing with. And I think that's very important in a blended family.
That's good.
And
Trevay, J,
too.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Likewise, to get to know the mom, the kid's mother.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. We are a blended family too. Jay came in with 2 kids and I came in with 1, and we have 3 together. But even if what you do is not well received, remain true to who you are. Continue to show the love of Christ. And all you can do is be accountable for yourself. All you can do is be the best version of yourself, because that's an extension of your respect for your spouse and the children that came from their loin. It shows them how to behave regardless. Stop, Lena. It shows them how to behave regardless of adversity, regardless of disagreements, whatever the case may be. Always show respect. Never talk down on the other parent or anything like that, especially not in their presence, not to them, period.
That's good.
Yeah. That's good. I hope y'all are taking some notes. Now, if y'all having any questions, let me know, because I don't want to take up all the questions now. I have a couple more questions for you all, unless anyone else in the audience has any questions. I think I might ask this one last question for you all, for you both to answer together. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the best question to ask last? Let's see here. Because I really want to know. I might, Rodney and Sherry, I got 2 more questions for you. So let me ask you this question first. How do you all keep your romance alive after so many years? People they've said after what they call the 7-year itch. They have all these different, phrases about after so long, you might get bored with your spouse, or, all this, that, and other. So how have you all been able to, keep your marriage alive and thriving?
I think doing spontaneous stuff. Now, for Rodney and I, we always going on trips and stuff. With his side have a family reunion every year, so we always may not be romantic, but we're always doing stuff together, which keep us close together. We're doing stuff with family. Our daughter, she plays volleyball. That keeps us busy, and we may get some romance in between time. But it's romances. I think that's pretty big and broad, because this is marriage in real life is not like marriage on TV.
Right.
You have to fight for your time together.
Yes.
And be intentional. Just basically just being intentional about it all.
For a lengthily, I guess that's the word, period of time, we used to go to the Seabreeze Jazz Festival. It just so happened to happen right around our anniversary. So we would usually take 3 to 4 trips a year. We always took 3 to 4 trips. Before COVID, we used to always take 3 to 4 trips a year with the kids, all of the kids, personal trips with us. So like she said, I always had a family reunion. So that was always a trip, whatever state it was in, but just doing things intentional. We always go out and eat. You might see us. We gonna eat. We be at every.
Now that we're empty nesters and all.
Yeah, we always out. So definitely, trips and stuff we took really kind of help. With the romance part of the marriage. With other siblings, we took couple trips, things of that nature. So those are kind of things that's important. That's why I say it's important to have a relationship with the extended family as well. Because if you think your marriage is going to be successful, just you and her, you got to have a lot on the table to make a marriage work. I'm going to tell y'all something. A lot of people get divorced because there's no other values in the marriage other than the husband and the wife. You know, where the kids are there, but sometimes the kids can't even keep a marriage together.
Yeah, they can. Kids can tear your marriage up, especially blended kids.
But if you don't have a value system of what you truly value, family, kids, spouse, you know, church is important. If you don't have a value system outside of just you and her, then when it comes to valuing her and valuing me, I'm gonna see her shortcomings. I might not like them. She gonna see mine. She might not like them. And say we've been through counseling, you know, been through counseling twice in 25 years. You know, just being real.
Not to get a divorce, but
that's good.
You get stuck.
You know,
and you can't.
Not to get a divorce, to keep from getting a divorce. So we've been through counseling on some issues, you know. But if you don't have other valuable variables that makes this marriage valuable, like family, you know, that's the thing. Because if it was always just me and her, and I know people want to be super spiritual sometimes, but if it was always just me and her, and we didn't look at our kids, we didn't look at the value of the two families that come together, we didn't look at the value of her having her own business, I have my own business, we didn't look at certain values that we brought into the life over 25 years, we would have ended it a long time ago. So that's what I think is important to me.
That's good. And you know, I asked you, Trevay and Jay, you know, with you all having young kids, you know, it looked like, okay, she woke up now. I was say she was knocked out. With you all having young kids, I know you are on a different, I guess, in a different time in life. And I know it's harder when you have young kids and you're working to get time in, you know, alone. How do you do that? And how can you encourage other young couples, you know, in your position to get that time in?
Well, I would have to say that I wouldn't necessarily say that we have arrived in that area. We're constantly growing there, but it helps when you have a partner who is willing to help in whatever way is needed. And also just cutting back on some of the things that are, they may be good things, but are they God things? Are they fruitful things? Or are they just busy work? So you have to cut down on all the fluff, cut down on all the things that really don't benefit you, the family, the body of Christ. Those things, just seek God about the things that you really need to be investing your time in, because you don't want to tire yourself out trying to maintain something that you're not even supposed to be carrying. Not even supposed to be doing. And then when you do that, you deprive your spouse or your children of that, of the full healthy version of you that they could have if you had managed your time better, if you had said no to some things and had some boundaries for your time and for your energy. And so I think those things are most important. And just being intentional about how you spend your time. And then operate in your areas of strength. Like there's some things that Jay is really good at, and there are some things that I'm really good at that may not fall into the traditional societal roles, but they work for us. You know, we complement each other, and like he said, we like each other, so, and we love each other, so we try to lighten the burden for each other. So that helps us a lot.
And almost like the question we ask each other, what can I do to help you? I mean, if we're constantly seeking, what can I do to make things easier for you? you find out that you spend a lot of time together when you asking those questions like, well, shoot, I just need a hug. Okay, I'm gonna hug you every single day. You got to push me off. So it's it's just the communication part, and I
Yeah.
guess finding the love language, because you can waste so much time. I could waste so much time buying this, buying that, buying that. But I tell you what, one of the best presents I ever gave my wife was writing her a letter. I mean, I got a response like, "What in the world? I should have been writing letters the whole." So I mean, you have to find out what makes them tick, and you'll save a whole lot of time and a whole lot of flowers. Cause you know what? She might not like flowers. Just because you like buying flowers, doesn't mean that she like receiving flowers. So you can say, just because you like buying diamond rings, she might not like those diamond rings. She would rather have you than have your rings. You know what I'm saying? So we have to figure out, what is it that, what pushes that button. And I think that's what makes things romantic. It's like, okay, you give me a hug, you come in, I might be having a bad day. If you rub my head, it's like, oh shoot, everything just went away. You know what I'm saying? So you have to figure out what it is that, that makes you, that support, supporting each other. And I guess that's part of communication too, because if I don't know you, I don't know you. So
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, everything is kind of wrapping up into communication, being honest, valuing one another. I really like this. We had a question to come in, and either one of you all or both of you can answer this question. It says, "Is it okay to walk away from a potential argument, or do you just face it head on?"
Well,
it,
I,
go ahead.
I would say if you see the potential, then there's a potential for it to come up again. And so before allowing it to grow, before allowing it to fester, I would address it. But even when I address it, I would address it with grace. Season everything you say with grace and watch your tone. And also, don't you have these expectations of how something is going to play out, and that might not even be what they meant, you know. But I'm all about addressing what's there, addressing it before it becomes a problem. It's a preventative measure. The way I see it, just like you do maintenance on your car, you get your oil changed and checked and things like that. Do the same thing with your marriage. You have to check for what's going on, and then if it before it even gets to the point of being inoperative, you need to fix it.
And you can't just leave it. I mean, I understand. I think they said, is it okay to walk away sometimes? Well, if you know you crazy and that you finna go off the deep end, sometimes we need to take a minute, go drink you a glass of ice water and come back, and then y'all deal with that, because sometimes we can lash out because we're hot. Like, you made me mad this time. So I mean, sometimes you need to sit down, because, we have issues. Some of us have issues. And when we know our issue, it's like, okay, you finna say some stuff that you can't take back, because some words you can't take back. And before you say something that you can't take back, maybe you do need to walk off for a second. Like, well, hey, babe, I'll be right back. Go get yourself together and then come back, and then we can deal with it. Because if you about to go there, then you need to be quiet before you say something that you can't take. Some stuff you can't take back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. Yeah, that sound good, but I keep playing it over and over in my head. Even when I don't see you, I see you. So we have to be careful. Sometimes it is certain times where you gotta walk away. If you need to walk away, or if you trying to run. And I'm not saying run. If you run from it, guess what? When you get back, the same situation gonna be there. And you're gonna be aggravated because now the other person ain't got hot. So now you got two hot people trying to figure something out, and that never works out. It's gonna be a knockdown, drag out. We're gonna be hollering at each other, and then next thing you know, it's gonna be the silent treatment that never works.
And then let me say that I'm the type of person that will go away for a minute just to gather myself. But I always communicate that, hey, I need to step back for a minute. And I always set a time when we're going to come together and talk about whatever's bothering us. So if I say, hey, I'm going to step back from this for a minute, then I say, okay, can we talk about this tomorrow at dinner or after dinner? Can we talk about this, whenever? But I never just leave it. I may leave it long enough for me to process, for me to get my emotions under control, for me to really think through, the situation. But I'm always going to come back to it. There's never a time when we just not going to confront it.
Because we're on the same team and we can't afford to leave stuff out there and let it fester.
And let the devil have,
because if a root of bitterness starts to, grab a hold of something and find a little bit of water, we're going to have some issues. We're going to have some real issues. So I think we deal with it. We have to deal with stuff.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
And when it's our fault, I had to learn this too. My bad. I know I'm finna be quiet in a second, but I had to learn this too.
That's just funny because you lean back and then you go back.
Yeah, I know. I get serious then when I lean forward. Okay. And another thing that I had to learn was when it's your fault, sometimes you have to just absorb the blows. It's almost trying to tell somebody how long they get to mourn. It's like you can't really tell nobody that, but when it's your fault, when you do the stupid thing, you can't get mad when it come up again. It's like she might bring it up tonight, she might bring it up tomorrow. You can't get mad tomorrow about something you did today. I mean, that ain't been enough. That ain't no time right there. So sometimes you have to absorb the blows when it's your fault. It's like, okay, yeah, sometimes we have to have that hard conversation and that accountability, it helps you and keep you from doing it again, because don't nobody want to talk about stuff you don't want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? It's certain things. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk about that no more. Okay, well, don't do that no more. And we don't have to talk about that no more.
Right. That's true. That's good. Rodney, yes. Sherry?
No, he just said it all.
What do you say? Amen.
Amen.
Someone else mentioned, how do you patiently navigate challenges? This real right here in marriages, because this everyday stuff. How do you patiently navigate challenges? Morgan, Rodney and I'm about to say Morgan. Rodney and Sherry will let you answer this. How do you patiently navigate challenges with those who may not be strong communicators?
That's a good one. One thing I do personally, listen to the Holy Spirit first. The Holy Spirit can teach you all things and he knows all things. So if you're dealing with someone and you need to navigate, first approach that situation with love, be soft about it. Then in the middle of softness, it allows that person to reach out to you and kind of give you the information that you need to hear to help navigate. That'll help you to know. For instance, let me see if I can come up with an example. Say you're dating someone and a girlfriend called you and said, I saw your man with another girl at a restaurant. Now you didn't see him, but you need to ask him about this situation. Mm-hmm. You want to confront this situation. How are you going to come about it? Are you just going to come at him? Hey, I heard you was at the restaurant with so-and-so, and this, that, and other. You really don't know if it was a cousin he was with. You don't know. Just say, hey, babe, were you out today? approach that situation before you go in hostile. So I think when you're navigating, you have to just be sensitive to the other person when you're trying to get some information to help you be a better person with that person. That's my take on
Okay, that was good.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to add anything?
Even if it's not that scenario, but
it.
a scenario where I learned that when you're, just say if you're a supervisor and you have an employee, and in order to get that employee to receive what you're saying, you have to lift them up first. You have to lift the employee up and tell them what a good job they did in these other areas. And then you can chop them off at the knees with, but what happened to this that you did? Or if you have
That's
proof
good.
of something.
That's good.
But when you lift them up, they're ready to receive whatever you have to
That's
say.
true.
That's even with kids, that's with your spouse,
That's
with
true.
anybody. You have to start off with something soft, or something where you patting them on the back, like kudos or something. You know you did that thing. Then you got to come in and say, but what happened to this? Why did you do this? I mean, because you're so good at that. What happened right here? So I think we used to have a going joke that you lift them up and then chop them off at the knees.
Sure did.
That's
Yeah.
what we used to say, but I think that's true in all instances. I mean, even with little kids, you got to say, Mommy, love when you did all of this. You did a awesome job. But why you didn't clean your room up when Mommy asked you to? They're just thinking about what a great job they did. And
Right.
Mommy loved it.
Mhm.
And next time they gonna get those shoes up, you know. So that's what that's what
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Good.
And I
That
would
was
say to assume positive intent. Assume that
Yeah.
whatever they did was not meant to intentionally hurt you. Get down to the bottom of it before you assume that they just intended to offend you or hurt you in some way.
That's good.
Because it takes the same amount of energy to think of it that way than it does the other way. I mean, it takes the same amount of energy. Yeah, either I can tell myself, you know what, they didn't mean it to hurt me, or if I say, you know what, they meant that to hurt me. I mean, it takes the same energy to say that to yourself, and what you say to yourself matters, because if you keep telling yourself over and over again, they trying to hurt me, they trying to do this, man, you'll start believing that, even if it's not true. So we have to be careful. We got to have to be intentional about, thinking that it's positive. I mean, assume that they didn't try to hurt you, because if you start telling yourself they did try to hurt you, then that's a slippery slope right there. Because then you'll start telling yourself all kind of stuff, and all the devil need is a crack in the door. Then he busting in.
And it's a level of maturity for someone to operate like he just said.
pessimistic.
It's a level of maturity. But then I also thought about the background of a person. If you're the type of person that been abused and you're kind of shelled in, you might react that way. But if you are a person that has been abused, you really need to before you react, you really need to take in and get that level of maturity and possibly get some counseling on how to respond in these situations, because like he was saying, it take the same amount of energy to think negative that it does to think positive. But if you're the person that came from a negative situation and you practice this negativity all the time, this is a good time for you to stop practicing negativity and start practicing positivity, and kind of do it on purpose. Be intentional. I heard Pastor MK say being intentional in one of his messages some months ago. Be intentional, about what you're doing. Because I love what he said. It takes the same level of energy. That's true.
Yeah. And I tell you, it's a level of self-awareness that you have to know, where you are. And
Yes.
as y'all were talking, I was thinking of, how, marriage is really like a mirror, and how the other person is really seeing you all the time, day in and day out. But it's really through the eyes of love. So when they're giving you criticism or rebuke or whatever the case may be, uplifting you, it's always through the eyes of love, and it's not to put you down. It's not to make you feel bad. So I wanted to kind of mention that observation, because I thought it was really good. This is the last question for both of you all. And I was about to say Griffiths. I was about to call y'all by y'all last name, just like I did Rod and Shay. I'm about to call him Morgan. Trevay and Jay, I want you to, give advice to, couples, or I should say, what advice would you give yourself, 8-9 years ago, before you even got married?
So I think one of the main things we have to do is check our perspective. Make sure that, again, that positive regard is there. I know with one of our hardest challenges, and this is the question that we didn't answer, but one of our hardest challenges we had to overcome by understanding that there was something below the surface going on. And so really just dig deeper. Whenever something comes up, dig deeper, and then change the way you see it. Like, we have a made it over anniversary where that was the day that we were about ready to call it quits, but instead of getting down about that day, we actually celebrated as an anniversary. So we call it our made it over anniversary. So we shifted what the devil thought he could use to tear us apart, and now it's something that we embrace and we celebrate, and we, and that's when we renewed our vows, because we realized that again, we're better together, we're on the same team, and going into it, we assumed that because we were both saved, we, both loved each other, we assumed that we wouldn't have the problems that we had. And God had given me some guidance in my book. And so we just kind of felt like, okay, it's going to be smooth sailing. But then when it wasn't, we had to redirect our thinking, and we had to think about, okay, we still want to be together even after this, but how do we do that? We had to be intentional about changing our perspective of our struggles.
Mm-hmm. I lost my train.
You were supposed to move forward, Jay.
I was hoping to say so. Okay. That I think we if I gave myself some advice, I drew a blank, my bad. 8 years ago, I would have told myself that make sure you're as selfless as possible, because sometimes we just think about me, I. But we read a book not too long ago. We did a book study, and it talked about our job is making the beautiful more beautiful. So it's like my job is to compliment her. She's already beautiful. Let me make her more beautiful. How can I lift her up a little bit higher than she already is? Because it's our job to bring out the best in our spouse. So if I'm lifting you up, I'm motivating you, it takes the same amount of energy for me to tear you down. So if I want you, if we're on the same team, I need the best version of you that I can get. And you need the best version of me that you can get. And if we're both at our best, we're unstoppable.
Yes.
And so I think that's the main thing. When we say that we're better together, it's like it's a process, and it's a maturity, because sometimes you have to take it one day at a time. We're better today than we was yesterday. And I think it's when you look at maturity, I think you really have to have a mindset to that. To everything, there's a time and a season. It's like if it's crazy today, guess what? It's not going to stay crazy if we keep chopping at it. If we keep doing the work, we're going to reap if we faint not. So if we just keep on pressing, if we just keep on believing, we keep on praying. I ain't saying when things get stupid and we about to separate that we just stay at the house and start praying. No, you've been praying. So now sometimes it's time to get some help. Where there's much counsel, there's safety, but where there's no counsel, I mean, it's danger. And we have to be sure that we're not allowing things to get so far gone before we seek help. And that's what we do so many times. We let things, I mean, we be on the brink of, I mean, it's unreconcilable. I mean, we cannot fix it. That's when we try to get help. And so I think our main thing is that's really what we kind of have to do, you know, get you some help.
That's good. That's good. And I think
Rodney, I'm sorry. What'd you say? What'd you say?
See, that's what you saying.
Like Rodney and I, when we met, we were daggone near in our late 20s. But over the course of all the years, we changed. We're not the same people that we were when we first met. And having kids and you going through different journeys in your life throughout 25 years, like you were saying, Jay, I mean, you don't wait so long to get help. And some people do. And then when you go and try to talk about it, you really don't know where the root cause is. But if you do it, be intentional. And me and Rodney, we try to do self-checks. First, find out what you like, what you don't like, or what you want the other person to do. Just write it down, and then you can evaluate each other at the end of the week, once a month, every quarter. Just do self-checks. Make sure, hey, babe, how I'm doing here. And it's likewise for him, because we're not the same 25 years ago. Nobody's body's the same. Everybody's body's change. Hair, styles, you know what I'm saying? The way we thought back then is not the same way we think now.
Right.
Yeah.
So what advice would y'all give yourselves?
Well, the advice, I mean, honestly,
before you got married, I should say.
Before we got married, we was going through singles fellowship. Thank God for singles fellowship back then. It gave us an upper hand on asking each other certain questions. So for us, we did the layout before we got married. We asked the hard questions.
We went through pre-marriage counseling.
We asked the questions that my expectations of her expectations of me. Now, once you clear the table with your expectations, we talking about before you get married. Now it's time to perform. So I think the true answer to that question is, once you ask questions and get information and expectations from one another, making sure that person keep their word and perform. You're going to grow. Like she said, we're not the same people 25 years ago. But through the growth process, those expectations that you discuss, they're still on the table. They never leave the table. You just learn other things, positive growth on top. But just because you got other stuff on top, what started everything is still there. You don't take that away just because it's 25 years later. No, you still do those things that you discussed before you got married. That's your glossary. That's when you go back and say, hey, in
It's your
section 1,
Bible.
we talked about this right here.
Yeah,
Now,
your foundation.
yeah, what happened? What happened with this chapter? No, we need to get back. We need to revisit this and make this happen. I think that's very important that you put your expectations out there and give that person an opportunity. Remember, we talked about honesty and integrity in communication. If it, I'm throwing out examples. If you're a person with a high sex drive, and don't be not putting that out there on the table. Put it out there. You talking about spending lifelong with a person. Put it out there. Be honest about it. If that person say, "Well, no, I'm not that," then now you got something to look at.
Right.
How valuable is this going to be in your relationship? So I just think a lot of times we get married and we didn't put everything out there on the table, and we assume that certain things are going to come to the dinner table. And so now you got your rice, your gravy, and your pork chops, but you're looking for your biscuit, and your biscuit ain't there. You got a problem.
You ain't made them
You
biscuits.
ain't made no biscuits. I thought you can make them biscuits.
You don't even got the ingredients for the biscuits.
So yeah, that's my thing. If I had to do anything, if I had to give anybody advice of what to do, or I would think what to do before you got married, is just put all your true expectations out there. Even if you don't think that other person can reach them, they might can say, I can work at that. We can work at that. But you just got to put them out there.
That's good. That's good. I tell you, this was so good tonight. I know I'm gonna go and watch this. Um, and just so you all know as well, this is on the Teach Me Tribe YouTube channel as well, so you can watch it. And it will be in the tribe as well, so you can rewatch it. And please let us know, your takeaways from tonight. I mean, because the Morgans and the Griffins, they really dropped some nuggets tonight. I mean, some wisdom that you can really live by, some real life situations that can really help you. And again, I just want to thank you all for your time, and thank you all for your wisdom, and just being here tonight and sowing into the lives of this community and beyond. And those of you all who aren't a member of the Teach Me Tribe, join us. We have events every month, um, and really every week, I should say, that caters to you and your growth and your development as a man or woman in every area of your life. And and tonight we've seen Black love in action. It's really demonstrated in both of these couples' lives, and I really pray that you all were y'all were blessed as much as I was tonight. So did y'all have anything before we dismiss, we close?
No.
I enjoyed gleaning from the Morgans just as much as we shared. So thank you all for sharing your wisdom with us.
And I want to tell the Griffiths the same thing. Like Sherry was saying, y'all talk like y'all been married 25 years. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's
Thank
great.
y'all for
Thank
the
you.
wisdom, And I got something from them, believe it or not, that stuck with me. So I love it. I love the fellowship.
Thank you.
Good,
Thank you,
good.
Tiffany.
Thank you. Well, that's what the Teach Me Tribe is all about. We teach each other, we listen, we share, we empower. So it doesn't
Yes.
matter if you've been married for 8 years or 25 years. It's always something that
That's right.
that
That's
you
Yes.
right.
can learn from each other. So thank y'all again for coming, and thank you all on the other side. And I guess we'll see you all next week at our tribe mixer. Everybody, that is on the 30th at 7 p.m. That's the foundation of our tribe. So we will see you all there. We'll complete our discussion on Black love. So until then, I will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.